and you can stream it if you want and watch the whole thing. It was conducted on Tuesday night.
Okay, so it's the Green Party, the Libertarian?
Yeah, Green Party, Constitutional Party, Justice Party. I don't know anything about them, tell you the truth. And Libertarian Party, former governor of New Mexico. But guess who it was conducting this from the past media? Who? Larry King.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's pathetic.
Yeah,
make it into a kind of
and they had another journalist on there.
Well, that's too bad. If they want credibility, they don't need Larry King doing the debate.
Yeah, but at least they were trying to get a name that would draw, I guess.
Sure.
But I'm just starting to watch it now. It's excellent.
Okay.
At least you get diverse ideas and different points of view, and they seem to be really fighting for third parties to get in the mix.
Okay. So, hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Quoth the raven nevermore. Really?
I'm trying to think. I know we at various times had to remember, even in high school, but I can't remember which
I memorized a number of them. Let's see. My Last Duchess.
Oh, yes. That's a beautiful poem.
Who is that by?
Browning, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's My Last Duchess.
Oh, there on the wall.
Hanging on the wall.
Hanging on the wall, yeah.
Oh, and it's awful. It's an incredible poem.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's about, did you love that poem?
Right.
I bet if somebody started me off on that one, I could start going again, too. But it's about a guy who kills.
Yeah, kills his wife.
He killed her.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. That's my last Duchess hanging on the wall. And then there was a John Donne poem.
Oh, right. What is the famous poem?
There's so many.
No, but the one that's always in those
I don't know. The one I memorized was To His Lover on Going to Bed. And
no, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
And it was, think of the timing of this, because America, he wrote this in the 1600s. And he's going after her. He's like coming at her. And he says this. I just freaked about this. Oh, my America, my newfound land. Because America was not really no, and he sees her body as this place to explore. Mm-hmm. Oh, my America, my newfound land, license my roving hands and let them go above, beyond, beneath, below. Yeah, I couldn't believe this. Now in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 1960s, that poem was, I was allowed, wouldn't that be considered today like, oh my God, that's an outrage, you can't talk about that.
Did the teacher talk about the eroticism?
I have no recollection of this, but I was totally into the eroticism of it. And he was a minister. You see how, so ministers in 1600...
We're horny.
We're horny and writing about, sex. And look at where we are now with ministers. Is that progress or what?
I was going to say, what was the guy's name who his wife, Tammy Faye?
Yeah.
Jimmy Baker.
James Baker. Or Jimmy. There's a number of
Jimmy Baker.
I bumped into her once at a flea market in Palm Springs.
Oh, God.
And she's very, very nice. She was very sweet. She was at a flea market on a Saturday morning, and she had her eyelashes on. Right. But she was. Seems
I always
like
remember when the whole
soul.
thing burst. His philandering, and there were those pictures of her
crying, weeping,
and all of that
black.
And it looked like how poodles get those eyes where the eyes get all dark around.
Yeah.
That's what she looked like.
I know.
She died, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But after didn't she become a rock singer or something, a country western singer after all of that?
Okay, I hate to inform you of this. I don't know if this is a universal problem, but Rosie says her sound keeps breaking off.
Oh, dear.
Not one sentence is heard in its entirety.
Oh, one of my countrymen. Rosie Jalinsky.
There was a small problem with the video, but I fixed that.
Oh, well, all right. Anybody else having trouble with the sound, let us know. What a bummer. So anyway, I read the other day.
She has binders full of
this. I do. I'm just always full of paper. I don't know. how I love books. I suspect you love books too.
Mm-hmm.
I have books everywhere. So Joe Queenan, who I don't usually like, has written a book about books called One for the Books. And he talks about he grew up in a poor situation, how books saved his life, books were his escape, books were his... I can't lay claim to any of that, but I love books, and he says this. He talks about how you open a book, which I did the other day actually, and I had written my 19-year-old self had written in this wonderful little penmanship, which I have since
abandoned,
lost. All kinds of notes in the margins. And when I read my notes, I thought, geez.
I was smart.
I wasn't even sure what I meant, that kind of thing. Or, a ticket stub falls out of a book and takes you back to something. So he says,
flooding back. Yes.
Right. So he says, none of this would ever happen with a Kindle.
True.
People who need to possess the physical copy of a book, not merely an electronic version, believe that the objects themselves are sacred. And then he says, I'm just not going to go. He's no Kindle in my future. My philosophy is simple. Certain things are perfect the way they are. The sky, the Pacific Ocean, and the Goldberg variations. Books are sublimely visceral, emotionally evocative objects that constitute a perfect delivery system. And
that's slightly maudlin, I think. I mean, I don't disagree with him, but I guess what I was thinking when you were reading that was, yes, for those of us who grew up at a certain time, etc., and who reading has become a major part of our lives. But I also think that in this generation with Kindles, in some form or fashion, we will be again to have the same personalization. I don't know how. But you can bookmark things electronically.
You can't put the ticket stub in there.
No, you can't. But the thing is, I always remember when people would say...
And you can't see your former penmanship.
No,
You reacquaint yourself with your old... Hello, caller.
I want to get back to this stuff.
Well, good morning. Did somebody say Palm Springs?
Hello.
Hi, it's Michael. How are you?
I did. You know that big flea market out by is it a college out there, a community college?
Yeah, the College of the Desert.
That's right. That's where I saw Tammy Faye Baker.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. She doesn't live in Palm Springs. She lives in Palm Desert, I believe, which is where that is.
She's dead.
But, yeah.
She died in Palm Desert.
Then she's buried in Palm.
Was from there.
Right. So,
now, books. I worship books. I worship anyone who worships books. But I also love the Kindle. Because I'm a person who loves to read multiple books at the same time. So when I take my Kindle with me, I can open up whatever book I want to read at whatever time and have it with me. I don't have to carry 5 books in a book bag.
So I can see getting a Kindle for that, for the portability.
But you can take notes on them, too. That's the great thing. You can highlight, make notes, you can share your notes, you can compare your notes, you can go back and re-alter your notes. It's wonderful.
Do you buy any books still?
Yes, I do. But now what I do is I tend to buy older books or copies of more antiquarian type things.
So if it's a new book, you're not going there.
Feel them. But you mentioned things falling out of books. And earlier this year, there was a book, I don't know, oh God, it was a collection of horror stories, I think. And I opened it up, and inside there was the note that I got from Dr. Sam Golden back in 1882 telling me that I had contracted HIV. And it's just something that fell out. I hadn't seen it since then. And it was one of those wild, weird coincidences. And I know what Freedom meant when he was talking about, storage system.
Sam Golden. And he later succumbed.
Yes.
To
now
HIV.
You're breaking up on the phone. You're not breaking up on the streaming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Now I can, yeah.
Oh, I was saying, and how I knew Sam Golden, and to think that he later died from.
Yeah, I know, and that broke my heart as well.
Right.
The last time I saw him was when I was working for George Romero. I think it was the Dark Half, and he was the crew's physician, and we all had to go down and get a physical from him before production.
And is that when they found your?
No. I was the first person in Allegheny County to be diagnosed with HIV.
What?
Yes.
And you made it?
I have made it. And I'm still going strong. I have an undetectable viral load, and my last CD4 count was over 1,000.
Good for you.
Wow.
Well, there's a remarkable amount of people who that is the case for. That if you made it through those sort of the 80s and early 90s and didn't succumb to Kaposi sarcoma or some of the pneumocystis, that are doing well now, a number of people.
See, I thought it was pretty much a death sentence until they came up with these cocktails and
right.
Wow.
I did too. When I was informed of this, I just went into complete and total shock and denial.
Yeah.
I was celibate I was only 22.
Oh, gosh.
And I became celibate for about 2 or 3 years, convinced that, I was going to die and that, if I even kissed anyone, I was going to take them with me. Mm-hmm. And I think that just that denial really helped me. I won't say that it would work for anyone else, but when I came back to Pittsburgh and 96, I became full-blown AIDS. My T cells went below 200. It was then that I started with medications. Mm-hmm. And my doctor at that time, Roger Anderson, another saint, said that for me it worked because I was so naive that they could choose any type of medication to help me. And fortunately, in my since 96, I've only been on 3 different regimens. I seem to be able to tolerate the medications rather well, and
isn't that something? Well, boy, wow! Instead of dying from, living with.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know, if there is any higher power or anything else, but if there is,
he's looking
obviously I've got something that I've got to do. I wish that it would let me know what it is, but
live a good life, that's all.
That's it.
Live exactly. And you know what? I'm going to have compassion.
That's true.
Or as the GOP calls it, redistribution of wealth.
Okay, you Kindle apologist. Good point, though. Good.
Okay, love you both dearly. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow.
Well, that's what the story was making. But to go back to it, it's in my world, one of the things that of my age, or certainly some older than I, we always talk about authenticity, and there's nothing like being in front of the real painting or the sculpture. You can't tell scale, you can't tell texture. And emotionally, I agree with that. But intellectually, I'm beginning to think that in people who've grown up, Jess's age or people who are certainly younger than she, that they've grown up in the presence of the facsimile, which in a certain sense the Kindle is. And they learn to navigate in and around that facsimile where we never did.
Right.
And so I think to sort of make something terribly emotional like Queenan or sort of, as I said, slightly maudlin before, is sort of unfair to a different time.
Okay.
I just think that's something, because like as he said, and I didn't even know you could do that, then you can make marks on the Kindle and...
You know what, though? See,
I don't particularly love the Kindle either, but I don't think we should sort of force the grammar and syntax of a different time on the present.
I saw a piece, I guess it was the end of I was tuning in for my Jeopardy, to see Jeopardy. I got in a little early, and it was the NBC Nightly News, and they were doing a piece on how Google, like Google Earth and Google this and Google that, are now going to be bringing people, for instance, the Grand Canyon. And the way they're doing it is they're literally, where you might not be able physically to ever get there, to walk the trails. I mean, if you go to the Grand Canyon, you really want to see some of the amazing things. You got to schlep. Oh, yeah. You got to walk. So they have people right now walking the Grand Canyon with these big Google gizmos on them, and it's a pack, and there's like 20 cameras all pointing in every possible direction. So it's a total panoramic view. And the person just walks and walks and walks, and it records absolutely everything. And then somehow they're able to get it together so that if you can't ever walk to the Grand Canyon, you can do it on a screen and see these images that you
Well, I remember, that brings back something. When we were redoing our website, the Warhol Museum, when I was director there, we were trying to figure out what would be the best way to do it. And we, as some of you who know, the museum had 7 floors and a basement. And so more than one of the staff said, we should have it in 7 parts. And I said, well, if someone doesn't know that the museum has 7 floors, why should we be restricted to having 7 parts? We do that because physically we have 7 floors. But just what you said, if you're handicapped and living in Prague, should you be denied the opportunity of seeing the Andy Warhol Museum, the collection thereof, as the Grand Canyon, or a facsimile, which may not be, in my way, the ultimate thing, but still it gives you 86.3%.
They might even be able, it might capture the sounds.
Well, right, exactly.
Everything but actually being
Smell
there.
Of the wildflowers
and
whatever.
And pretty soon they'll be able to give you the smells, too.
Right.
You know?
Well, the only thing on Kindle is interesting.
You might be attacked by a grizzly bear sitting in your living room.
In your tuchus. The other thing, though, about this is sort of a very practical thing about the Kindle. There was something in the paper just yesterday, I think it was in the Times, where although I always thought when you purchase a Kindle book, it's yours, but they were saying that some of them, and I think this was Amazon, they have a sell-by date. Not a sell-by date, but it's almost like a license, and 2 years later, somehow, Beowulf it just is swept off your... Oh. It's like, they call back the book or something.
I don't understand any of that.
Yeah, because the whole point is, even if it's electronic, you go to the shelf. That man was saying he felt like he wants to read a little bit of Chaucer or whatever. Right. But you can't do it. You have to pay 99 cents again or whatever.
Okay, I have to take a break.
Please do.
I shall. Tom Sokolowski, my guest, the erudite Tom William Sokolowski.
Harbinger.
Harbinger of all good things. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
In a world where the GOP presidential campaign was mind-numbingly long,
on next election day, you can say no to hope and change and choose the better way.
And the president revealed his true intentions.
If I tax each rich man, oh Solyndra, I could lend you all the cash.
Isn't it nice to know that you can laugh at all of them? Come see the Capitol Steps.
November 4th at the Byham Theater. Tickets on sale at trustarts.org and 412-456-6666.
Go to BergBargains.com for great deals from the 2012 Best of Pittsburgh winners. This week, get discounts on the Carnegie Art Museum, the Science Center, Nikki's Thai Kitchen, Dozen, and Piccolo Forno. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's e-commerce mall. BergBargains.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, now I just wanted to, all of that Kindle and stuff was for me to get back to this. If you get the New York Times on Sunday, the book review is always, it's not as good as it used to be.
No, right.
What's going on? Never mind.
Anyway, I don't know if it's so much that the individual articles or the reviews are so bad, but
it's
just
what they choose
choice.
to review.
Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe it's what people are writing.
Well, it's just a lot of crap. And then not the right books that they're, I don't know, it's just dumbed down.
Or sometimes very recondite things, which it seems more appropriate for professional journals than
whatever. I know I don't enjoy it like I used to. Anyway.
Maybe you've become jaded.
The lead, I guess, is a graphic novel.
I glanced at the first few paragraphs.
Okay, well, this is fascinating. Now, and they just rave about it. They rave about it. And they say, here's why I wanted to bring up the Kindles and stuff. It said, you will never be able to read this amazing thing called Building Stories on a digital tablet. And that's by design. It is a physical object. It is printed on wood pulp. It is a big, sturdy box containing 14 different, easily misplaced elements. A hardbound volume or two, pamphlets and leaflets of various dimension, a monstrously huge tabloid of a century-old Sunday newspaper comic sections, and a folded board of the sort that might once have come with a fancy game. In which order should you read the stuff that is in this box? The author says, whatever. Just relinquishing the control that an author usually does.
Well, having a linear...
in a linear thing. So building stories is something that you sort of do with this. But...
what does this thing cost? I'm curious with all
$50.
Oh, that's cheap with all these...
I know, and I'm thinking, I gotta get this. I frankly have never read a graphic novel.
No. Well, you've read a comic book, haven't you?
I have, and I've read some of, they excerpted them for a while in the New York Times.
Well, that wasn't a super successful
I didn't get into it.
It was very fun. I don't know why either.
But I love the fact that this is somebody pushing back and saying, hey, Kindle this. Right? I love that. I love that.
No, why do you think that is? I remember, because in the night, now it was probably due to availability, or lack thereof. But, in the 19th century, people devoured and waited for Dickens' serializations and whatever, and, or we in the films, cliffhangers and that sort of thing. But somehow, I don't know, just embedded in the magazine, it was in that front section.
It didn't work.
No,
it didn't work. And I think we're not inclined in our culture now, in which immediacy is such a given, to wait a week.
That's true. Well, they were talking also in one fairly intelligent piece, I think it was the Times as well, about how not so terribly long ago on television shows, whether it was Honey Boo Boo. I couldn't resist.
Okay, he said Honey Boo Boo.
But there was usually continuity, so that even though each episode, like in a comedy or something, had zingers, your favorite thing, but still, last week they told you that so-and-so, and, she had cancer, and then 5 episodes later. But now, especially, what is that show that's been on for 100 million years? Law and Order and its various offshoots.
Right.
Each episode, although there's a teeny bit of story, is unto itself.
That's right, self-contained.
It's very formulaic.
Right.
It's self-contained. But before, it used to be you'd follow, almost like a soap opera. You knew what Charles was doing with Mona in the lodge last February. Because they would keep bringing it up. But that notion of wanting to have a story that's bigger than you and that you're so lustful of going into and becoming part of.
It's a wonderful kind.
It's
wonderful. You look forward to it. You can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Wednesday. I can't wait. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Got to catch up to some of our emails here.
All right.
Can't.
Call.
We got a call. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Lynn. This is Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
How are you?
Fine.
Emailed you a couple of days ago saying I was going to call in about the e-readers.
Yeah, so you're
I am a crazy book lady instead of a crazy cat lady.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a crazy book lady. I always have a book in front of my face since I was 4. And I swore I would never get an e-reader when they first came out. But someone bought me one for my birthday.
And you're now
and loaded
an
it with
addict.
20 books.
Yeah, you're an addict.
I've been hooked ever since.
That's right.
Like the last caller said, you can take them with you. I have books. I never have to worry about finishing a book on the bus and not having anything to start, right then and there. I read while I'm waiting in line at the bank. I read while I'm I try not to read while I'm walking because it can be kind of dangerous.
Yes.
But
Well, if you're in some place where there's Wi-Fi, you can even buy a Kindle book
the Kindle
outside.
downloaded onto my cell phone, so if I can't really get to my e-reader and I just happen to be sitting idly at the moment, I always have a book with me. And, I've passed this on now. I have 3 boys who are ages 13, almost 11, and 9, and they love to read, too, so they all have their Kindles, too, and they're always like, that's one thing. It's like a habit, because instead of buying cigarettes or booze or whatever, my bank account is full of books that I've purchased for myself and my children.
Well, that's wonderful. I will try to be more open-minded. I'm sure there's a Kindle somewhere in my future. But there's also...
As soon as you get one, I promise you will never be without it. You'll think, well, how could I have ever been able to read without one?
All righty, Audrey. Thank you. Thank you. I brought that up, the subject up in part because Audrey had said, I got to talk about this because whatever. Anyway, I saw this too. Richard writes, Brian Williams, the anchor of NBC, was plugging a show this morning on MSNBC. He mentioned he would be airing a special 30-minute segment tonight on on Rock Center on what it's like inside the Obama campaign. When asked what he was most surprised about during the 2 days he spent inside the campaign, Williams replied that the size of Obama crowds are significantly smaller than they were 4 years ago. He said crowds of 5,000 4 years ago are barely 1,000 now. Actually, what I thought he said is 4 years ago there would have been 50,000 people at this venue, and there were only 5,000 now. But he said that may be the best indicator we have of the election results. I think that's bull. I think Obama, 4 years ago, there was a sense of making history.
Exactly.
There was such an extraordinary sense that this black man was going to be the president, could be the president of the United States. A black man with a funny name like Barack Obama. I mean, it's just unbelievable. People were so blown away, so energized by that possibility of being part of history.
Well, and for people such as all people of color, particularly African Americans, but one of ours can be president.
Oh, I know. It was just, there was something, and it happened.
I remember,
obviously there's not as much now, but I don't think that's an indicator of the campaign, of the election result.
No, since I have to remember, I was already in Pittsburgh, but I was in New York for the inauguration. And I remember that morning I was staying with friends down in Tribeca, and there was a little coffee shop that had croissant or something, so I decided I would go there for breakfast. And it was so interesting because it was just, I got up a little later than usual, so it was about 11 o'clock or whenever the inauguration happens. And I remember, and this wasn't a particularly African-American neighborhood, but in this coffee shop, all of these ladies came in of a certain age, African-American ladies, dressed up like it was, sometimes you see these church ladies, these extraordinary hats. And it was so remarkable because they were so proud that, a black man was now being... And I just thought, it was important for me, but not like that.
Well,
Some
when
of
I
these
rode
relatives were slaves, and now...
No, I know. When I rode the bus the next day and there were so many black people on the bus, I was looking around and I'm thinking, gosh, you must just be...
So proud.
So proud.
Well, and as Mr. Obama has said himself, that any child today has that potential.
Yeah.
And, who would have said that before? I remember I said that to Mrs. Obama when I had the great privilege of taking her through the War Home Museum when we had the G20. And I just said, Mrs. Obama, we were talking about that.
Right.
And I said, you wouldn't have had your job 10 years ago. I said, I, given my working class background, wouldn't have had my job as a museum director 25 or 30 years ago. And look where we are now.
Yeah, and I would never have had my job either. That's an unbelievable sweeping change.
Sweeping change in our lifetime.
Huge. That has opened things up, which is why there's all those angry white men around.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it is why. It's still a backlash, and it's still, they keep pushing.
Tell me what I want to hear, and I'll give you $5 million. Gosh. The Donald.
I have something here that I want to address. Somebody just put together I think this is so funny, the GOP Rape Advisory chart. And it's just using the quotes from Republicans on rape. And there's nothing here that it wasn't, said. The rape advisory charts goes from the gift from God rape all the way down to enjoyable rape. And these were all said. And if you think, one misstatement or no, this shows a mindset in the Republican Party that should be frightening.
No, I mean, the fact
to women.
Too, Aiken, and what's his new one's name?
Murdoch.
I mean, really?
Okay, so...
I mean, how stupid can you be?
The gift from God rape, that would give us Murdoch. When life begins with that horrible situation of rape, that is something that God intended to happen. Okay. Here's Rick Santorum.
One of the wisest
gift from God rape.
That's right. Stupidity.
The right approach is to accept this horribly created in the sense of rape, but nevertheless a gift of human life, and accept what God is giving you.
I am a believer in the supreme being of some sort, but to think that, presuming there is a God, supreme being, that he, she, or it is sitting there saying, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lynn Cullen, zing. Tom Segaloski, zing, 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 zing. Ha, 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 on to Allentown. It's just so silly and vindictive and stupid.
What I think it is it's akin to this, when you're 2 and 3 and 4 years old, you look at any child, and a child understandably thinks that the world revolves around them, that they are the center of the universe. And it's that, children supposedly grow up and learn that they ain't that big a deal. Right. Sorry. And the idea that there is a supreme being who is concerned with the minutia of the lives of the billions of human beings that are on this earth.
And will be.
Come on. The need to be important, the need to think somebody cares about you like that. Forget about it, okay? Okay, after the gift from God rape, a woman could hope to simply have a legitimate rape. And that's Todd Aiken. Quote, if it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to shut that whole thing down. Against God's will?
That's right, exactly.
I'm shocked.
Now, I don't know female anatomy, but you just press under the third rib.
Go get him. Go get him. And then there's Ron Paul, who in February of 2012 told us about honest rape.
Yes, honest rape.
You remember that one? If it's an honest rape, that individual should go immediately to the emergency room. I would give them a shot of estrogen. Okay?
This sounds like? This sounds like a Friday night discussion at a fraternity, at a particularly bad university, like Old Miss or something.
Well, these
guys sitting around in their cut-off sweatshirts with beer. Hey, honest rape. Really? Just
the president said yesterday, when asked about this thing, he said, look, rape is rape. They ain't all these delineations. It's a violation of another human being's body, which is something the Republicans are into. They are into violating women's bodies. They are into going into women's bodies. Jeez. Okay, after honest rape, you have emergency rape. I don't know
that one. What is that one?
This is Republican Senate candidate Linda McMahon.
Oh, dear.
It was really an issue about a Catholic church being forced to offer those pills if the person came in to an emergency room. Came in with an emergency rape.
Oh, like the with an after pill?
I guess. I don't know. With an emergency rape. As opposed to your everyday.
Yes. I'm planning for a rape at 2:30 on Tuesday.
Have you sent your RSVP in for my rape?
Is my dress back from the cleaners?
Okay, from emergency rape, we go to Easy rape. And this was Republican State Representative Roger something, endorsed by Paul Ryan. If you go down that road, some girls, they rape so easy.
She wanted it.
That was, I seem to recall this guy. That was that's in Wisconsin, and he was talking about the advice his father gave him.
Oh.
If you go down that road, some girls, they rape so easy. Okay, we go from that, ladies and gentlemen, to forcible rape, which seems, again, like a redundancy. This is Paul Ryan, our Republican vice presidential nominee. Todd Aiken, legitimate rape, and 214 other Republicans co-sponsored the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act, which would prohibit funding abortions except in instances of, and this was written by Paul Ryan, instead of instances of, quote, an act of forcible rape. What the hell? Well, it shows a mindset.
Yeah, it does that.
That they think there are rapes that aren't.
You know, I'm looking at this, and Lynn's reading. It's a long column. And you know what it looks like? You remember how at old circuses or fairs where you would hit
the thing
and
to
go
get.
Ding!
That's right. And we finish this out with enjoyable rape.
Marriage. Now, who is conjoined?
This is a Republican running for governor in Texas.
Oh.
Not this year. Not this year. If it's inevitable, just relax and enjoy it.
Think of England. Well, that's ludicrous. I mean, so ridiculous. You can't even...
You could not, believe me, come up with a similar litany.
Toga. I mean, really, that is an embarrassment. I mean, there are Democrats who say stupid things in that, but not with the propensity that these Republicans do.
Well, I want to thank the gentleman for just sending me this, because I saw this too and forgot. The Republicans here in Harrisburg, there is a bill that would force women to prove they were raped before being given food stamps. Now, wait a minute. Here it is. Here's part of the bill. If a woman gives birth to a child who was conceived from rape, she may seek an exemption to this rule. There's a rule that's talking about, so that her food stamp benefits aren't slashed, but only if she can provide proof.
Well, I have a perfect answer to this.
She reported her sexual assault.
Sterilization. I mean, that's what he's talking about. Oh, these women who just have all these babies, sterilization. I mean,
Despite
so let these children starve.
Despite the fact that low-income women who give birth to children would logically need increased assistance to care for their larger family, there are a number of Pennsylvania legislators who don't want Pennsylvania's food stamp program to provide additional benefits for children. They think, although the exception is if you got a kid because you were raped.
Right.
But so if you want the additional money for your food stamps, you're going to have to prove.
Right. Or the next thing they'll do, like the Greeks and Romans, who just take the baby out and expose it in the wilderness and let it die and a wolf eat it or something. Oh, this is like...
beyond belief.
Unbelief. I mean, just...
I got to take a break.
Devastating.
Yeah, it's a fine time to take a break. You vote Republican. Vote Republican. I'll tell you, their compassion runneth over.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Winter has arrived and it's cold outside, so get to Little's for all your UGG needs. Little's has Uggs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. And don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. All available at Little's Shoes. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store Ugg shops in the U.S. Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual election guide is available now. Pick up one today for the most comprehensive coverage of national, state, and local elections, plus Halloween guide, Kevin Hart, and Stomp. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
No idea it was so late. Anyway, so I'm looking around on... I didn't know they're forecasting this hurricane's gonna...
create a snowstorm.
Hurricane Sandy? It just doesn't seem like the right name for a killer hurricane, does it?
No.
I mean, when I hear Sandy, I think of Orphan Annie's dog. Something benign and sweet. Or something. Okay. But it says here there is a consensus forming in weather forecast models that Hurricane Sandy is unlikely to go to sea. Instead, it's more likely it'll merge with a strong cold front and transition into a possibly historic storm along the mid-Atlantic. And I guess this starts happening on Saturday or Sunday. And there was one thing I read that just freaked me out. Finally, snow may be an issue at high elevations in the interior mid-Atlantic and Northeast as cold air pours down on the storm's west and southwest flank. Some models suggest over a foot of heavy, wet snow could fall in places like western Pennsylvania. A foot? Now, here's the thing. When you get a foot of wet, and it'll be wet snow, and you still have leaves on the trees come down.
Yeah.
The snow stick. I mean, so.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, snow is much less likely at lower elevations, so let's just hope that that's not going to happen.
This has been a weird year for weather. Very weird.
Anyway, they show all these different forecasters, all of them, and they're all saying the same thing. There's a Weather Channel, Underground, AccuWeather.
I mean, I understand.
Potential billion-dollar storm. It's not often that credible forecast models consistently forecast a historic event. And with more models leaning that way, we need to be paying attention along the entire East Coast. Mounting evidence of a conversion of two weather systems into a historic storm.
Well, the question
blah, blah, blah.
The question I have is I understand the wet and what was the last one we had?
I can't remember.
We got a lot of
names.
Water. We didn't get heavy winds.
Yeah.
But it has to be also terribly cold for all that water to turn to snow. Was it supposed to be that cold?
Well, it doesn't have to be terribly cold.
No, it has to be at least 30.
Yeah, well, it can even be a little less than that.
It's supposed to be 82.
It has to be that cold up.
Well, that's true. That's true, too.
And by the time it falls, it could be 38, 39 even, whatever. The concern is power outages, down trees, flooding, consequently, blah, blah, blah. Let's hope this is all ado about nothing. But, boy, I'll tell you, these meteorologists are in a flutter. They're in a flutter and in consensus. And it's reminiscent of, did you see last week that an Italian court convicted 6 seismologists, earthquake guys, for not warning of this earthquake? What kind of nonsense is that? Maybe these meteorologists are out there now because they're afraid they'll be convicted if there's a loss of life. And it's
well, no, I only read a little bit of it, but it seemed like they could have.
No, you cannot. If we could predict earthquakes.
No, but
wouldn't we?
Well, but they have some premonitions. Yes.
There had been little quakes.
That usually is indicative, though.
There's plenty of little quakes that don't result then in a killer quake. Anyway, the entire scientific community is just ballistic about this.
Well, the Italians are so crazy. Now their newest thing is, this is the paper in the Times yesterday, it is illegal, and the police are now enforcing it, if you are on or near to an historic place.
And you're eating or drinking. Right.
Because, now, yes, I very much, given my profession, want to preserve, and I've seen the problems that have happened with antiquities in Italy and elsewhere. But, I mean, Italy needs tourism like almost no other place. And if you can't have your pizza on the Spanish Steps.
Right.
Oy.
Yeah. I don't think they'll enforce that very much. Hey, what do you imagine walking into Times Square?
Yes.
And instead of the familiar onslaught of blinking advertising, you instead are looking at pulsating, gorgeous abstractions by Raphael Rosendahl. They're talking about actually putting where all of those
neon things are
art.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Because it would be organized, so it wouldn't be such a cacophony.
What would happen, he says, we take our visual environment for granted, especially billboard advertising. We don't turn anything or open a page. We walk into a space, and it's there. We don't have a choice. The sheer opulence, quantity, and intensity of the blinking displays in Times Square is overwhelming. So what would happen if we hijacked all that power and subverted it for a different mission? What if people who were in Times Square were suddenly bombarded with art?
Oh, so it's just a quandary. No, it will never happen.
No, they're talking about doing it.
Yeah, but the point is, no, that will never happen, because just think about it. All of those things that he mentions, cacophonous, the word I just used before, but are paid for. It's an ad for a movie. It's an ad for a new,
Yeah, so who's going to pay for the art?
Yeah, who's going to pay for the art? I mean, and they have done things like the screen where the ball comes down and all of that there. The Public Art Fund, and a number of times, have gotten it. Now, it's only like a minute every fifth hour.
Right.
But an artist has for years designed something on there. And the best ones have been the ones that make you question, is that an advertisement or is that art?
It could be both.
Of course it could be both. Something like... Oh, I can't think of a good one. But this one artist, Barbara Kruger, always has these sayings like, I shop, therefore I am. Which is a kind of very deep question. But it looks like something that would be on the front page of the Post or something.
We're out of time.
And we're out of steam.
Oh, never out of steam. But out of time.
And I'm sorry, one of the people said, is Tom okay? He's breathing so heavy.
You are.
Well, I can't hear it. I don't feel I'm breathing heavy.
Yeah, but it's like, it almost sounds like, you're awake, but you're almost snoring. That's what it is.
Well, I have a very low, soft palate, and that somehow...
Okay. Do you have sleep apnea?
I do, yes. But I can't abide those sort of...
Yeah, but it's dangerous to have sleep apnea.
I know, but...
I mean, you practically have sleep apnea when you're standing up.
No, I do not.
Well, that's what we were here.
Well, I couldn't hear it.
Yeah. Wait.
Well, I'm sorry to Marge and whoever else. We haven't heard from Margaret in a few weeks.
Oh, Margaret's around. Don't worry about it. She can't be on all the time.
No, but she was in the first months of mine.
Well, maybe you've...
maybe I've turned her off.
Maybe, yeah.
Or her
she's
boss
sick of you.
is turned off.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Margaret, get to work.
That could be, too. Okay, well, that's
as harbinger of the weekend.
Harbinger.
Jess, what is the derivation?
Speaking of syllables, you said recondite before, and I never pronounced it.
Well, I think it's both. Like, what was the word we were talking about a couple of times ago?
I don't know.
We say different ways.
And how would you...
Well, recondite I've always heard recondite, but I think both are
define
kosher.
Recondite. I always make you define a word.
Something that is rarefied and very specific and perhaps jargon-filled knowledge. Like, in other words, the temperature at which water boils would not be recondite.
No.
But, like, how many ions on the tip of a pin or something would be recondite.
Or how many Republicans are brain dead?
That's sarcasm.
Okay, we gotta go.
The lesson of the day.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Tom Sokolowski, as always. Thank you for joining us, and back tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.